Hello everyone, this is Dr. Ghanesham Chauhan and welcome back again in my YouTube channels where we are discussing human anatomy and physiology. Our today's topic is skeletal system. In this we are discussing about the bones. Now the bones are almost 18% of our total body weight and our bone system are having major function of protection. The skeletal system supports and protects the body while giving it shape and form. So it forms the stature or major structure of our body. Osteology, it is a branch of science that deals with the study of skeletal system, their structure and functions. There is also another branch, it is called orthopedic. It is nothing but the branch which deals with the structure, function and disease of the bones and joints. And the surgeons are called as orthopedics. The skeletal system is composed of bones. As we have discussed, the bones are very hard, strong, and they are making the structure of our body. They are having major function to do protection. Also, we are having the cartilages. They are soft tissues. They are made of the connective tissue. And joints. Joints are nothing but the articulation between two bones. And ligaments. Ligaments are joining two bones together, and also they are forming the tendons. The tendons are nothing but it is made up of cartilages. They are forming joints between the bones and the muscles. Now we will discuss the structure of bones. In the structure of bones, the first point is diaphysis. The diaphysis, here you can see, this is the diaphysis. The diaphysis is the longest part of our bone. It is the shaft or body of our bone. The diaphysis is strong and it is completely developed. They are matured cells. Second is epiphysis. Epiphyses are nothing but the proximal end and distal end of the long bone. So they are soft in nature. They are connecting the spongy tissues in between them of connective tissue, and they are available at the both the corners of the bone. And next is metaphysis. The metaphyses are nothing but the in between the longest diaphysis and the epiphysis. So this is the part, it is called metaphysis. Here you can see metaphysis. The metaphyses are having the epiphyseal plate. So they are having the epiphyseal plates of hyaline cartilage. So these plates are nothing but the growth plate. So it is responsible for growth of this diaphysis. Means here the tissues are immature tissues and they are go under the developments. Here the generation of these tissues will occur, and due to which the length of this diaphysis, means length of this bone, can be increased. So it completely depends on this epiphysis plate or line. So this epiphysis plate is going to be closed after the age of 18 to 21. It occurs due to the hormonal changes which occurs in our body, and due to the secretion of hormones, in case of males testosterone and in case of females estrogen, progesterone, this epiphyseal plate is going to be closed, and the hyaline cartilage cells are get replaced by the bone tissues, bone hard tissue, and due to which the further growth will not occur here. So in this fashion the plate will be closed, the stoppage of your growth will occur, means the further linear growth of your bone won't occurs. Now if you see, the bones are somewhat curved in nature. Why they are curved in nature? Because they are having the capability to take your weight. So they are providing strength to your body, due to which our body will be balanced in position. If your bone will be very straight, means your body will not going to be balanced completely. Now next is articular cartilage. So this articular cartilage, if you will see, So they are made up of the hyaline cartilage, and this articular cartilage you will find at the layer of your epiphysis, and these epiphysis are uh, forming the joint between two bones. So during that, the articular cartilage is providing friction between two bones, because the epiphyseal part is will connect with the another bone, and this articular cartilage is soft in nature, due to which they are providing the cushion like structure, and they are providing the smoothness between the joints, and they are preventing the friction. Now after this, and articular cartilage, after this we will go for the periosteum. The periosteum periosteum is the tough connective tissue which you can see here. So it is the tough connective tissue. It is available just above the part of diaphysis. It is a external thick coating, thick covering of your diaphysis. So it is available wherever there is no articular cartilage is there. So at this part here you can see the articular cartilage is there. At that place you won't find that. You will find where that articular cartilage is not available, not present. At that place you will find this periosteum. If you will see, it is supplied with the good blood supply. It is having the good blood supply is there, whereas the cartilage is don't have any blood supply. Again, the specialty of this periosteum is that it is having ability to do the repairment of the fractures. If any fracture will occur, it do the repairment as early as fast. It is also responsible for growth of the tissue, of bone tissue, in the size, not in the size, but by the strength they are giving the growth of this bone, of this diaphysis. Next is medullary cavity. This medullary cavity, here you will find, it is the internal part of your internal hollow part of our long bone. It is also called as bone marrow, and this bone marrow or bone marrow cavity, it is having the bone marrow, and it is the hollow part of our bone which provides the strength without increasing the weight of our body. Next is endosteum. This endosteum is nothing but the thin single layered cartilaginous cell of this medullary cavity, and this medullary cavity are covered by this endosteum, and it contains a single layer of bone forming cells and a small amount of connective tissue. Now before this, we will shortly discuss regarding the histology of bones. It is not in our syllabus, but we must know how the bones are in their histology. So if you will see bones, the bones are nothing but the osseous tissue, and they contains abundant of extracellular matrix that surround widely separated cells. If you will see the bones, so bones are having almost 15% of water, 30% of collagen, and 55% of crystallized mineral salts. So the crystal mineral salts are abundantly found in our body. And if you see, the calcium is most found, it is almost 80% found in our bones. And in case of the crystal salts, if you see, the salt like calcium phosphates, they are found abundantly in our minerals, and sometimes they can be combined with the calcium hydroxide, which can be get converted into the hydroxyapatite. And also in this bones, the salts like calcium carbonate you will find, and some ions like magnesium, fluoride, potassium, and sulfates you will find in this. The process of calcification is nothing but the initiation by bone building cells called as osteoblast. So there are the various types of cells are available into our bones. They are osteogenic cells, osteoblast, osteocytes, osteoclast. Osteogenic cells. So in this osteogenic cells, you feel nothing but the bone forming cells, and they are derived from the mesenchyme, the tissue from the which almost all connective tissue are formed. Next is osteoblast. So these are bone building cells. They synthesize and secrete collagen fibers and other organic compounds need to build the extracellular matrix of bone tissue, and they initiate the calcification. Next is osteocytes. Osteocytes are nothing but they are the matured cells, and they are the main cells in the bone tissue and maintain its daily metabolism such as exchange of nutrients and waste with the blood. Like osteoblast, osteocytes do not undergo cell division because they are completely developed, whereas these osteoblasts are immature cells, they are not completely developed, so they are giving the ability to regenerate the cells. Now here next is osteoclast. So these are the huge cells derived from the fusion of many cells as 50 monocytes and are concerned in the endosteum, and whereas the osteoclast cells are responsible for the resorption of the bone. So they are releasing the ions from the bone. Now we will discuss regarding the functions of skeletal system. So in that there is first function, it is called support. So it gives hard framework that support and anchors the soft organs of the body. So in our body, some bones are hard and some bones are soft, but after the adult age, all bones are become hard, and these bones are giving the structure and framework to our body. Bones are responsible for typical height for our body. Now protection surrounds organs such as brain and spinal cord. As the brain can be protected in our cranial cavity, and the heart or lungs can be protected in the thoracic cage, like the other organs can be protected with the help of these bones. Movements, it allows muscles attachment, therefore the bones are used in the levels. The movement are the major function of our bones. Without bones we cannot able to move from one place to the other place. So the muscles are attached to our bones and we are able to do movement from one place to the another place. Storage, the minerals like calcium, phosphates, after that potassiums, after that carbonates, these are the minerals which are available into our bones. And the lipids like adipose tissue, they are occurs in our yellow bone marrow, and this adipose tissue are responsible for storing of triglycerides in our bones. Blood cell formation. So in the red bone marrow, our RBC and other cells is going to be formed. The form elements like RBC, WBC and platelets, they will form into our red bone marrow with the help of pluripotent cells. They are the stem cells, pluripotent cells. They are responsible for the production of RBC, WBC, and platelets. Out of them, the myeloid cells are responsible for production of RBC, whereas the lymphoid cells are responsible for production of WBC. Now the division of skeletal system. Now the skeletal system is having almost 206 bones. If we will see from the fetus or childhood, the childs are having more than 206 bones. But some bones are soft bones or cartilaginous bones. Means they are comes under the process of fusion after the adult, means up to the adulthood. That's why the bones number can be decreased and it will remain up to 206. The bones of skeletal are grouped into two principal divisions. First is axial skeleton, on which our today's topic is rely. So in axial skeleton, the various bones are available. In that, first is skull bones, auditory ossicles, ear bones, hyoid bones, ribs, sternum, it is also called as breastbone, and the bones of the vertebral column. Whereas in appendicular skeleton, we will come across in the bones of upper and lower limbs. It is also called as extremities, plus the bones forming the girdles that connects the limb to the axial skeleton. The girdles are of two types. One is pelvic girdle and another is pectoral girdle. Now here we can see the bones. Now in case of skeletal muscle, skeletal system, we are having 80 bones. Now out of them 80 bones, now we will discuss one by one. In that, first is cranium. So cranium contains 8 bones. Face, the face is having 14 facial bones. We are having one hyoid bone, and auditory ossicles are 6 in numbers. The vertebral column contains 26 bones. The thorax contains 1 sternum and 24 ribs. Now in case of appendicular skeleton, we are having 2 clavicles, 2 spatula. Upper limb contains 2 humerus, 2 ulna, 2 radius. There are not complete 16 carpals are available and 10 metacarpals are there. Phalanges are 14 plus 40, 28 carpals are there. 28 phalanges are there. Total is 126. Now we will go for the classification of bones, which is based on the shape. As shape, so according to the shapes, they are divided into 5 types. In that, first is long bones. So here you can see the long bones are there. The bones of legs and the hands, for example humerus or the femur or tibia, these are the types of long bones. Next is short bones, the bones which are short in size, for example bones of carpals, metacarpals. Next is flat bones, the bones like bones of scapula or ribs or the cranium bones, they are comes under category of flat bones. Next is irregular bones, so the bones like bones of vertebra or the bones of the pelvic girdle, so they are comes under the category of irregular bones. And the sesamoid bone, so this is the sesamoid bone. So the bones which are having typical size and they are without friction, so typical round in size, and so these bones are nothing but the sesamoid bones. So here long bones, they are greater length than width and are slightly curved from the strain. The examples are femur, tibia, fibula, humerus, ulna, radius, and phalanges. Short bones, they are cube shaped and are nearly equal to the length and width. And the examples are carpals and tarsals. Flat bones, thin and composed of two nearly parallel plates of compact bones. The tissue enclosing a layer of spongy bone tissue. And the examples are cranial, sternum, ribs, and scapulae. Next is irregular bones. They are complex shapes and cannot be grouped into any previous categories. So the examples are vertebrae, hip bones, means pelvic girdle, some facial bones, calcaneus. What is calcaneus? Calcaneus are nothing but the bones of our feet. So that typical bones of our back bones of our foot. So the typical heel bone is called as calcaneus. Next is sesamoid bone. It protects tendon from excessive wear and tear, and it is connected with the cartilages, and it connects two bones. So with the help of the cartilages, it joins two bones, and they are avoiding the friction. Now the axial skeleton. The axial skeleton consists of major three parts. One is skull, second is vertebral column, and third is thoracic cage. In that thoracic cage, we are having the sternum. Now we will start from the first one. It is called skull. The skull is situated on the upper end of vertebral column, and its bone structure is divided into two parts. First is cranium and second is face. Now here you can see in the cranium there are various bones and various lobes are available. For example, this is the frontal lobe. It also having the frontal bone. This is the parietal lobe, which having the parietal bones. And at the back side we are having the occipital lobe, and at the side we are having the temporal lobe. Now in that the various bones are available that we will discuss here. In that, this is the corneal sutures. What is sutures? Which connects two bones together. They are called as sutures. So they are responsible for immovable bones. So it can also comes under the category of another types of bones. They are immovable bones. So they are connecting the sutures. So here the sphenoid bone. Here you can see. This is the eye orbit. So into our eye orbits, the various types of bones are also available. For example, this is the ethmoid bone. Just below that, there is lacrimal bone, and side by to that lacrimal bone, there is palatine bone, and after there is the This is the zygomatic bone, and below that, there is the perpendicular plate of ethmoid bone, and this is the and in nose also various bones are available. For example, this is the nasal bone, and here is various concha are available. So there is superior concha, middle concha, and the inferior concha. And just below that concha, this is concha, and below this concha there is the humor bone, which is at the center. This is a one bone is a humor bone. This is the mental foramen at this point. Now at this side, if you will see, the supraoptimal foramen is there. After that, the optic foramen, the temporal bone is here. This is the nasal bone, inferior. This is the inferior nasal concha. This one, middle nasal concha, and this is the inferior nasal concha. This is the intraorbital foramen. This is maxilla part. We also came across these all parts in our practical. This is called alveolar process of maxilla. And this is the mandible bone. This mandible bone, if you will see, it is a bone which can move very freely, and other bones are not able to move. Now we will discuss one by one the bones. It is formed by the flat and irregular bones that provides a bony protection of the brain. So if you see this cranium is having major function of to do the protection of our brain. If without cranium, our brain cannot be protected. So they are very hard and very tough to protect our brain. In that, first is frontal bone. So it forms the forehead and it forms the part of the sockets. The coronal sutures joins the frontal and parietal bones. Second is parietal bone. It forms the side and roof of the cranial cavity. It articulates with each other at the sagittal sutures. It joins the frontal bone with coronal sutures and occipital bone with the lambdoidal suture and the temporal bone at the squamous suture. So various sutures are available here, the coronal, lambdoidal and the squamous suture. Third is temporal bone. This is the bone lie one on each side of the head and form immovable joint with the parietal, occipital and sphenoid and the zygomatic bones. The temporal bone articulates with the mandible at the lower side. Now the occipital bone. It forms the back of head and forms the base of the skull. It has immovable joint with parietal, temporal and sphenoid bones. One sphenoid bone. It occupies the middle portion of base of skull and it articulates with the occipital, temporal, parietal and frontal bones. One ethmoid bone. It occupies the anterior part of base of skull and helps to form the orbital cavity, the nasal septum and the lateral wall of the nasal cavity. It is very delayed bone containing many air sinuses that opens into the nasal cavity. Now here you can see the various bones also you can see in this figure. For example, this is the zygomatic arch, this is the frontal bone, sphenoid bone, this is the zygomatic bone, ethmoid bone, lacrimal bone, lacrimal fossa, nasal bone, this is the temporal processes, this is the mandibular fossa, this one articular tubercle, this one mandible, here the occipital condyle, sphenoid process, this is the mastoid process, this is the external auditory meatus, this is the external occipital protubens, this is the mastoid portion, this is the occipital bone, this is the lambdoid suture, this is zygomatic process, this is temporal bone, this is squamous suture and the temporal squama, this is the parietal bone, this is the coronal suture. Now the facial bones again. So various facial bones are available into our face. Almost 14 facial bones are available. Out of them we will discuss several. The first is nasal bones. It forms the bridge of the nose. Maxilla. It forms the upper jawbone and forms the most of the hard palate, and it separates nasal cavity from the oral cavity. Zygomatic bone. They commonly called cheekbones and they form the prominence of the cheeks. Lacrimal bones. They forms the part of the middle wall of each orbit. These lacrimal walls are accompanied with the lacrimal glands. It is located near these bones. Palatine bones form the posterior portion of the hard palate. Inferior nasal concha. They form the part of inferior lateral wall of the nasal cavity. Humor bones. They form the inferior portion of nasal septum. Mandible. It is a lower jaw, the largest and strongest facial bone, and the only movable skull bone, and due to this we are able to do the movement of our mouth. We can open the mouth and we can close the mouth. The biting process and tear and the process of eating is only occurs due to the movement of our mandible. Nasal septum, it divides the inferior of the nasal cavity into right and left sides. Broken nose in most cases refer to the septal damage rather than the nasal bones themselves. Orbit, it is a eye socket. Foramina, which openings for the blood vessels, nerves or ligaments of the skull. Again, if you see the various conchas are there. Here we are discussing the inferior concha. There are three types of concha are there. Inferior nasal concha, after that middle nasal concha, and third is superior nasal concha. So there are three types of conchas are there of our facial bone. Now here the axial skeleton. Again here we can see the various bones. So by the inferior view, how it looks inferiorly, that we can see here. This is the foramen magnum, from where the spinal cord emerges from the brain and it goes towards the vertebral column. And again here you can see the various bones are there. This is the parietal bone, lumboid sutures. Sutures are connecting between two lobes. They are connecting the plates of the bones. It may be the occipital bone or temporal bone or parietal bone or frontal bone. So they are connecting all the bones together and they are joined together. Here the axial skeleton. So in axial skeleton, so again we will discuss regarding the mandible. So mandible is having this condylar process which connects with our skull bone, and due to which the movement of this jaw will occur. This is the mandibular notch, this is the ramus, this is the angle, this is the body, and this is the choroid process. So up to which the movement of our jaw will occur. It gives the angle of rotation for this jaw. This is the mandibular foramen, this is the alveolar process, and this is the mental foramen. The vertebral column. Now we will start the vertebral column. It also called as spine, backbone or spinal column. Its function to protect the spinal cord. It supports the head, serve as a point of attachment for ribs, pelvic girdle and the muscles. The vertebral column is curved to varying degrees in different locations. It curves increases the column strength. It also helps to maintain the balance in the upright position. It absorbs shocks during walking and help protects the vertebra from the fracture. Again, if you see, the vertebra are protecting our spinal cord, and the spinal cord also having the protective layer above the spinal cord. They are called as meninges. They are having three types or three parts are there. So in that pia mater, arachnoid matter and the dura mater, which is the outermost matter. And above that we are having this spinal, this is having this vertebral column. Here you can see this is the vertebral column. We are having total 26 vertebrae. Out of them the first 7 vertebrae are there. So the first 7 vertebrae are called as cervical vertebra. Out of them the first vertebra is called as atlas, second is called as axis, and the remaining are called as C3, C4, C5, C6 up to C7. After the cervical vertebra, they are joined together by the 12 thoracic vertebra. These thoracic vertebra are well connected with the ribs. We are having the 12 pairs of ribs. They are well connected with this thoracic vertebra. After this thoracic vertebra, we are having the 5 lumbar vertebra by number L1, L2, L3, L4,
4, L5.
5. L5. These 5 lumbar vertebra are joined together by the 12 thoracic vertebra. We are having the 5 lumbar vertebra by number L1, L2, L3, L4, L5. These 5 lumbar vertebra are joined together by the 12 thoracic vertebra. Next part it is called as sacrum. They are taken or they are called as a one vertebra, but they actually contain the 5 subvertebra. And the last part is the coccyx. They are also having 4 vertebra, but they are called as, or taken as only one vertebra. So like this total 26 vertebra we have. And this is the actual shape of the vertebra, how it looks in our body. So it's this curved nature is responsible for to give strength and to give the balance to our body. So it absorbs the shocks and it becomes protected. And if you see from the childhood, this is the shape, and after it develops and it becomes S-like shape after the adulthood. Now here the vertebrae, they are having the foramen in between the vertebrae, and they are joined together by this annulus fibrosus. It is nothing but the fibrocartilage. They are producing the cushion-like structure between two vertebrae. Now vertebral column, if you see, it is composed of series of bones called vertebrae. There are 7 cervical are in the neck region, 12 thoracic are in the posterior of thoracic cavity, 5 lumbar vertebra which support the lower back, and 1 sacrum consists of 5 fused sacral vertebra, and 1 coccyx consists of 4 fused coccygeal vertebra. Now, intervertebral disc. They are found between the bodies of adjacent vertebrae. They are having functions of to form strong joints. So, if one vertebra is well connected with the other vertebra, they are responsible for to do the movement of the vertebra, freely movement. And if they are not having proper movement, if they are not attached normally or appropriately, so they will form the friction between two vertebrae, and due to which the swelling will occur, and the condition like arthritis or spondylosis will develop. The permit the various movement of the vertebral column. They also absorb the vertebral shocks. So whatever shocks you are getting during walking, running, when you are jumping, so we are getting lots of shocks to our vertebral column. Vertebra typically consists of a body, it is a weight bearing, a vertebral arch which surrounds the spinal cord, and the several processes. They are point of attachment for the muscles. Now here you can see, this is the anterior view of this vertebra. We are having the several processes. For example, this is called as spinous processes, this is called as transverse processes, and this is the vertebral foramen. This is called facet of superior articular process. This is the facets of head of ribs. This is the body. This is the pedicle part. This is the lamina part. And in this fashion, the one vertebra will come above another vertebra. So they will placed in such a manner that they are completely fixed into the one socket into the pin of another. So in this fashion, they are completely attached, and even they can also move accordingly. If you want to move our back in right or left direction, they are able to easily move. And they are also supported with the spinal nerves, and the spinal nerves are go all over the body parts at the peripheral part. So here again you can see the spinal process, inferior articular process. So in this fashion, the spinal cord run through our vertebral column. Now the thoracic cage. Thoracic cage is formed by the sternum, which is also called as breastbone or chest bone. It is a flat bone. Ribs. We are having 12 pairs of ribs. Costal cartilage. The cartilage are made of the hyaline cartilage. They are connect one rib with the another rib. So they are doing the baby-like structure. Thoracic vertebra. Now functions. Enclose and protect the organs into the thoracic and the abdominal cavity. Second function is to provide support for the bones of the upper limbs. So they are providing the good supports and play a role in breathing. It having the major function to do the breathing, because thoracic cavity are responsible for expansion and contraction. So whenever we are taking breath in, the ribs are expanding, and whenever we are exhaling out the air from our lungs, so they are constricting. So in this fashion, continuously the ribs are increasing and decreasing in their size. So the flexibility should be there. Suppose if any pain is there or if any pus formation will be there, so it leads into the disease of our pneumatic bone. Sternum. It is a breastbone located in the center of thoracic wall. It consists of manubrium body zippered process. Ribs. So you can see it is a zippered process available here. This is the body, this is the manubrium part, this is the clavicular notch, this is the supraesternal notch, this is the sternal edge. Ribs. There are 12 pairs of ribs which give structural support to the sides of the thoracic cavity. So you can see there are the 12 pairs of ribs. Out of them, the 7 true ribs are there, and the remaining are false ribs. Out of 12, these 2 ribs, here you can see they are hanging there, so they are called as floating ribs, and the remaining 3 are nothing but the false ribs, and up to 7 you can see these true ribs are so there. Now here it is also having some labels. This is the clavicle which is joined with this vertebra, and clavicular notch. This is the scapula. This is the sternum angle. This is the costal cartilage. It is well joined with the cartilage. Why it is cartilage? Because they are soft bones and they are easy to expand. They are able to relax and they are able to contract also. So for the elasticity, it is supplied with these cartilaginous bones. And the costal cartilage. Costal cartilage contribute to the elasticity of the thoracic cage, because for the expansion, for breath in and breath out, their elasticity is very, very vital. The axial skeleton, in that we can see these ribs. In case of ribs, we are having these inferior facets, superior facets. This is the head, this is the neck, this is the tubercle, this is the articular facet, where the one rib will join with the another ribs, and this is the costal angle, this is the costal groups, this is the body parts, this is the facets for costal cartilage, where the ribs can join with the vertebra. Now here how they are attaching with each other. This is the transverse process of vertebra to which the ribs are attached. This is the facets for tubercular of ribs. This is the intercostal space between two ribs, which provides the space for expansion for breathing. It provides the area for the lungs to expand. This is the central groups. So in this students, in this way we have discussed the axial skeleton, and I hope you understood my whole lecture. So see you then for today. Have a nice day. Bye.